Oh, hello, world. I'm Dan Shaheen. Welcome to Comic Book News. Today, man, we got a jam-packed panel of pros, professional people who sell comics, that is, right? We're talking to four great retailers. We're going to talk about some issues of the day. Before we get started, I just want to say this: if this is your first time watching the channel, thank you. We've had a lot of new people tuning in and watching this thing. I want to thank you all. If you haven't already, consider hitting that subscribe button. Maybe you ring that little bell icon thing and you get notifications when we got new videos and stuff, because you never know when we're going to drop cool new stuff. Okay. Tonight, we're going to try something a little bit different. We're going to do a sort of roundtable panel discussion. We've got a few topics we're going to go around on. These guys are not looking at the comments, and I'm probably not going to look at them much until the end. And we'll do a comments, interactive to and from comments, question and answer session, whatever you want to call it. So either keep the good ones till the end or keep them going, amuse yourself, whatever you want. But we're concentrating on the conversation because that's what this channel is all about, right? It's about a conversation amongst peers in the industry, right? These are all different people with different ideas that work frankly, in totally different spheres selling comics. Some of these guys are direct market guys who are going to be open tomorrow selling new comics. Some might not be. Some might be somewhere in between. So you've all got a voice in this industry, right? You don't have to be a Diamond Comics customer to be in the comics industry any more than you have to be a Baker and Taylor customer to be a used bookstore, right? There's different business models. That's what Comic Book News is about, and Comic Book 2.0, our ongoing series. If you haven't checked it out, check out our couple of videos. We're going to have more. We're going to bring these guys back in for focused panels about a specific topic about the future of comics. Tonight, we're going to mix it up a little more. So let's bring in, man, let's bring in a longtime contributor here and friend of the show, local pal of mine, Mike Hansen.
Hello.
Welcome, Mike. Mike is a professional comics freelance historian working for Marvel Comics, among others. Next, from San Francisco, Leaf Smith from Mission Comics and Art. How you doing, Leaf?
Good.
How's Frisco?
Good. This was the second day we were able to do curbside delivery pickup.
And I know it's not supposed to be called Frisco, dude. I live there. So. All right. And, next up, first time on the show, but I appeared on his show, yesterday, the day before, something like that, to talk to him. And everybody's like, this guy's a crazy dude. What's going to happen, Dan? He might take a swing at you. And, he did, but that was after. So, but then we hugged and we patched things up. I want to bring him in right now. Dennis Barger, welcome to the show.
What's up, guys?
How you doing?
Good.
Okay, and last but not least, man, I was all set with regular commentator and, frankly, sharpest tack in the box, Cliff Biggers, was going to show up here today. But he graciously stepped aside because, I got a call from somebody. I got a reach out from some dude. And he went, hey, man, it's great you got all these old cats, but how about bringing somebody under 30? I'm like, okay, Junior, what do you got? And he hit me with his website that showed not one but two stores, Arsenal Comics and Games. Here he is, young whippersnapper, Timmy.
Greetings. Good evening.
Hague or Hague, Timmy?
Hague, like the island.
Okay, or the war crimes trial. All right, cool. Great. All right.
I'm sure you love hearing that, Dan.
We're staying away from politics tonight, so guys. So, all right, let's get it going with our first topic. Why not, right? And you know what? I even did some fancy graphicals here, so let's pull this thing off. And let's talk about our first topic. I want to talk about, what I've got in my background. And the background here is Mile High Comics. This is just one row of like 5 or 10 of these things, I think. We're talking 500,000 comics right here in this picture. And Chuck's got 5 million sitting in that warehouse. And he came on here. I'm sure some of you guys, if not all of you, saw it. He was really passionate about the need for a retailer or a seller of comics, rather, to take control of their destiny and not only own their stock and back issues, but also maybe own some property. Okay. And, I know some people that have some strong feelings on it. So we're going to go around the panel here. We're going to talk about back issue strategies real quick. Tell me what your back issue strategy now, or your most recent one, is when you sold comics. And I'm going to start with Mike Hansen.
Well, until very recently, as regular viewers have heard me say to death by now, I worked at a local independent bookstore, and I was the comics guy there. And we did have a pretty robust back issue selection, but very limited space to display it. So what I needed to do was be really cutthroat and really ruthless about pricing in order to generate as much turnover in that section as possible. So I didn't look at Overstreet. I didn't look at anything except for online prices. I looked at Mile High. Usually that was well above market for us. I mean, we're an isolated area. I looked at mycomicshop.com, and I looked at what things sold for as far as recent eBay sales. And basically, I just priced all my back issues based on that. Just made it real simple: $2, $3, $4, $5. More than that, I considered listing it online to get it to move quicker, because I did all the shipping at the store too. So it was pretty quick.
Okay. So that was your selling strategy. How about buying? Were you like guided or using your process to figure the price and then paying a percentage, or are you doing flat price buying? How do you buy a collection?
If it was a small enough stack of comics and I had the time that day, I would usually just get an idea of what the best books were, what I would price them at, figure out kind of a general bulk price for the rest, and then offer a percentage of that in cash or in trade. And that store, they would generally offer about double in trade what they would do in cash. But, it really depended on the product. I mean, if it's something that is going to sell quickly because it's hot, and the seller, they're looking for a little more, or they want to negotiate a little, I can bump it up because I know I'm going to, still make my money quickly, and then I can just reinvest that into something else. But the thing about a small bookstore is that you never know what people are going to trade in. I mean, you could say that really about anyone who deals in used product. So that's another reason you really have to be cutthroat in order to keep it moving.
Okay, great. Hey, Leaf Smith, man, you're in San Francisco. You used to sell primarily new product. I don't remember seeing a lot of back issues in there in the beginning when I started shopping with you. And over the years, I've seen you trying all kinds of new things, man, trying new ideas, rental ideas for trade paperbacks, and selling a lot of used trade paperbacks and comics and stuff. So talk about your back issue strategy. How do you do it there in San Francisco and make it work?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a very reader-focused store, and not really dabbled in the back issues. I've really tried to minimize my sort of overstock. I have gotten into doing used books, graphic novels, and a little bit of graded books. But really, I find that my local customer base is not really interested in back issues very much. They're either very impatient and they're going straight to eBay and they're not looking, they're not like going for the hunt, or they're buying it in some other format, be it, a trade collection or in a digital format. I do get the tourists from the East Coast or things looking for back issues, but it's not enough for me to really devote too much of my business to.
Okay, great. Okay, I can tell from his devilish grin that Dennis Barger has a different take on this subject. Dennis, you're a back issue guy primarily, right? Although I hear from some sources that you might still dabble in new comics, especially of the variant grade, and might be getting diamond product. Why don't you hip us to your back issue strategy and tell us about new product and old product?
Well, I've had a philosophy, from the day I opened. I said, I want to look like I've been open for 6 months the first time a customer walks in on day one. So I actually stocked my store with between 3 to 6 back issues of every book that I was currently going to be carrying on the shelf, along with dollar boxes and some key books and stuff like that. But to me, I think one of the things, and I want to break this down into 2 pieces here, and I know we're going to keep it quick, but one of the things is that I think the industry sells itself short on is not what they call a back issue and the constant turns of, I got to sell through this on issue 1, and I got to cut my orders to 10% over on issue 2 and be within 5% margin on issue 3. And that's where I'm like Sir Mix-a-Lot. I come up and retrieve it. I'm sitting there. I order my issue 1s, and then when the entire industry, not the entire industry, but most of them, cut those orders bone dry for issue 2, man, I am in there. I'm upping my order. And guess what? I'm getting quadruple, septuple, 10 times for issue 2. I mean, all new Wolverine 2, where X-23, I just looked over some old records. We're getting $50 a piece for that issue.
That's a G.I. Joe. That's a G.I. Joe number 2.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's the thing. It's happened with Aquaman 3 from the New 52. It happened with Nightwing 4. The industry cuts those orders bone dry.
Okay, Dennis, I think that's a great point. So Dennis is working a contrarian kind of strategy, going against patterns that he's seeing established, weaknesses in the patterns of a lot of direct market orders. He's looking for those weaknesses to exploit it to get a higher margin on those products. I think that's pretty interesting. Timmy, though, hey, Timmy.
Hey.
You've been on the block. What are you doing with back issues? What is a back issue to you anyway, man?
This way.
Yeah.
I want to own all the comic book stores because it's more avenues for back issues. I live for back issues. I'm very back issue driven. Just like Dennis when he first opened up, that's how my first little store was. It had the last 6 months of releases, it had discount dollar books, and it also had a lot of keys. I made sure to stock my store with keys. I come from a small business background. My old man owns a surplus store, and ever since I was a wee lad, he'd be buying used surplus gear, clothes, other collectibles, guns, whatever. And it's buying is the same when it comes to a store like that. The mentality and the math is really just all the same. But just like Mike, when it comes to pricing, me and him are very similar. It's eBay. It's the current live market, what's sold in the last 2 months. The thing with collections is, it really varies for me. If it's just a bunch of keys, like Mike said, credit prices, cash prices, there's a certain percent. But same thing can be done with bulk. And am I still there? Have you cut me off yet?
Sorry, buddy.
No worries. I'm always an honest guy. I always tell people what they got. I never want to be the guy who screws over the old lady and buys her first appearance of Supergirl for $5 and haha, look at me. And when I tell them this, and then I offer my price, my 20, 30, 40% cash, whatever it is, and the credit price, they're always like, but you just told me it's this, it's worth this. Yeah, but I'm also giving you straight cash right now, or, a check that's going to clear in seconds, or I can PayPal you, Venmo you, whatever. But also, you're not having to worry about eBay. You're not having to worry about the fees.
Big time, of course. Yeah.
Instead processing it. And when you really lay it out for them, they totally get it. And that's why I love having 2 stores now, because I'm buying 3 to 5 on average a week, great collections.
Yeah.
And the profit's there. And now with Corona, with closed stores and no new comics coming in, all my back issues that I always thought were, after I made my money back on a collection and now there were whatever, I'm going through long boxes, looking at something and go, well, this doesn't look so bad to me anymore, straight to the eBay. And next thing I know, my employees have a paycheck. So...
Timmy, well, man, it's like you're queuing me up for our next topic. So, but I want to, before we go there, which we'll get there in a second, I just want to say my strategy back when I was doing comics, I was still buying. My thing was I will buy any comic you bring in my store, and I will pay 5 cents for any comic you bring in my store.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
and that's for current or newer stuff. If it was older stuff, I would go through it, but I would still often work out a flat price, because even on an old 70s collection or whatever, there's 1 or 2 key gems in there, maybe that you could sell, maybe if it's in decent condition and you could flip it. But the labor of grading and bagging and boarding, I would often end up at I'll give you $1 each for everything you've got here.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah, Dennis, please.
The average long box price right now in bulk is about $20 a long. And I've never understood the logic of a comic shop that, oh, we don't deal in back issues. No offense, Lee. We don't deal in back issues. We don't deal in back issues. And it's this like robotic, response. Dude, for $20, you can donate 100 comics for a short box, or 250 for a long box. You can donate them to a school with your sticker on them. There's a million things you can't do with $20. And a long box full of comic books for $20, you can do a lot of things. And it never.
I love that there's a picture of long boxes right next to Dennis's face when he's saying that, because it's the truth, man. It's a lot like owning your own property. When you own a back issue, you got choices, right? If you own a property, you can open your own store. You could rent it out. You could subdivide it. You could burn it down for the insurance money. I wouldn't do that, but that's an option, right? Okay. So Timmy queued us up for this, and Dennis is ready for it. Let's go straight into digital strategies. All right. So what does this mean? I don't know. It means like, how are you selling on the internet now? Like, your customers are on the internet, right? We know that. So you got to be there too. So how do you sell on the internet? How did you sell on the internet up until this crisis? And what, if anything, is changing after the crisis? Let's go in reverse. Let's start with Timmy.
So before the crisis, eBay was the side money. What was once alternative income has now become the main income. The live sales, the social media deals, that was all 25% of my bandwidth. Well, now it's 100% because I can't let people through my doors. Social media, I kill at. Arsenal on social media, I want, show me someone who can match me. Like, I would love to, and because I want to see better than me.
I can tell from the 39 eyeballs on us right now that something happened, man. There's 40 people right now tuned in.
So social media for me, like, as a teenager in high school with Instagram booming, I turned, doing nothing on the internet and sharing dumb memes with my friends, and now a big part of my career. And social media for me was a tool to get people through my door, to browse, to come inside and browse the wall, just be part of events, chill at the shop, enjoy comics. Well, now I can't do that. So now I've completely turned my tool of social media into getting sales from my customers and shipping them product, or initiating curbside, or making the deals, or whatever. And now eBay has transitioned to that as well. eBay is now full force. All my part-timers, my managers, it's all eBay right now. We're not dealing with curbside or, mail order for our customers through our website. eBay is where it's at right now. It's keeping me alive.
Okay. Hey, Mike, tell me digitally what you were doing and what you might do differently. What you might think about doing differently now.
Me?
Yeah, digitally.
Okay.
Tell me what Eureka Books did and what you think they would do next.
What I did, I should say, because I was the only guy who handled comics in the shop, was any comic that was priced above a certain threshold, I would consider putting online. And usually if it was the store price in the $6 to $8 range, that was kind of the low end of what I would do. Most of the stuff that I would sell online, the store price was probably in the $10 to $20 range. But I had enough regular stock coming in that I didn't need to try to squeeze every last penny out of them. It was much easier to just sell it and reinvest it in the next collection that would come in the door. So
because comics were really just one section of a much larger used bookstore that also carried some new book product as well, as I remember.
Right, and the comic section had a very extensive graphic novel section as well, but almost all of it was used. There was a very small new books budget that I was given, but I tried to make the most of it. But getting back to the comics, what I would always do is I would always price the online price at give or take 20% above what I thought I could sell it in the store. I tried to be competitive with whatever the pricing I was seeing online was. But the important bit was it wasn't just eBay. I actually did most of my sales on Amazon. Their back issue prices are crazy for the most part. So people seeing I had the lower end of it. Exactly, Dennis. So people would see that I'd be on the higher end of other websites, but on the lower end of Amazon. And that was really that sweet spot that worked really well for me. So don't
you use trade paperbacks too on Amazon is a humongous market, man. That saved my store in 2008 in the financial crisis.
Yeah, absolutely. It really makes a difference. And the add-on from online sales cannot be disregarded in this market, I don't think.
Okay. Thanks. So Leaf Digital, what do? You do something. You sell something online. What do you sell?
Well, I've been using Comic Hub for about 2 years now, and that's been pretty helpful in just sort of managing pull lists. I'm switching over to doing more payments online. What I'm hearing from customers is they don't necessarily want to be doing transactions in the store. It's the kind of eBay business, though, is never going to be something that can be my focus in San Francisco. Real estate and labor are too expensive. It's just not something that's feasible.
So I think that's a pretty legit thing, is that different markets have a lot of different factors. And if you know anything about San Francisco, the rents are up here and the minimum wage is up here and only getting higher. We could debate if that's a good or a bad thing, but there's no doubt it makes it harder to make a living selling comics at retail price over the counter, right? So Dennis, what's your digital? Where are you? Are you multi-channel or what? Where are you selling the most digitally?
I want to boil it down for you. When I opened my store 15 years ago, I had a goal set in my head that I wanted to move as much out the back door as I was moving out the front door. At a certain point, our store hit up into the high low six figures. And at a certain point right after that, I dedicated more time to online, and I hit a point of parity around 2015. And that's when I said to myself, okay, now what am I making on the online, and what am I spending for the in-store to get there? And I was spending 80% of my money to stock 50% of my store, and I was spending 20% of my money to keep 50% of my income out the back door open. And that's when I started going, okay, I can start bringing that the other direction, which led me finally to the decision in January to stop new comics. And it wasn't for any other reason than I kind of looked at it as musical chairs. I reached a point and I was like, okay, I'm seeing a lot of the music. I'm hearing stuff come out of Comics Pro. I'm hearing the music play, and I'm seeing how many chairs there are, but I'm not for sure there's going to be one for everybody when that music stops. And I said, I'm going to pick a chair right now. I can't. And, I know everybody here's a big Diamond supporter. I was going tooth and nail with Diamond about boxes, about credit, about, just the general lack of respect sometimes, etc.
Well, it's funny that you say that, Dennis, because maybe you can address a question. I heard a little bird told me, and I don't know if this is true. Were you forcibly removed from a retailer summit for assaulting a Diamond employee?
No, that is absolute 100% bullshit. That's absolute bullshit. No, Roger Fletcher and I, see, this is how the knitting circle gets going. Roger Fletcher and I, on the last day of the summit, an hour or two before the end of the summit, went off to the side. Roger threw a couple things in my face, and I threw a couple things back at him, not verbal or not physically, but verbally, and it got into a heated conversation. At one point, they almost removed, I can't remember the jackass's name, but the Comics Pro president called me an asshole and wanted to take it outside, and they almost removed him because I was willing to take it outside. I did assault a retailer one time, but he earned
only
that.
once. I've wanted to many times. Jimmy, jump in. What do you got on that?
Well, believe it or not, actually, before that conversation started, I just wanted to take my hat off and say what you were talking about with Leaf in San Francisco. I don't know how you do it, Leaf, and I always highly take my hat off and respect you for the minimum, what you do up there. And then Dennis, I wanted to say, I see what he does online. He hustles on Amazon, and I see what he does for his kids. And being an awesome father. So I just wanted to take my hat off to him and say that.
And now hit him with the 1-2 punch, Timmy. Though
Oh no, I just wanted to get that in there real quick.
Oh, I thought that was a setup for a major takedown, man.
No.
I thought you had like cell phone video of Dennis socking somebody.
No, I just wanted to get that in there before we started the drama, because
no drama. And so, Dennis, you're just here to say no. You never assaulted anybody. You some heated words.
I absolutely have never. No, I assaulted one guy in Baltimore like 10 years ago, but he had it coming because he started some shit with me in Vegas. And then started it immediately when Baltimore the next year started. And I said, look, if you don't shut your mouth this weekend, I'm going to knock you on your ass. Then he called me a fat ass right to my face. So I stepped on his feet. I pushed him in his chest. He fell on his ass. And I said, stay there or I'll put you on your ass again.
Okay. All right, Dennis. When did you stop? When did you stop beating your wife? I'm just kidding.
I'll admit when I kick her.
I'm just kidding.
Just because a guy sells comic doesn't mean he can't kick a little ass.
You're right, Dennis. I can attest to that because I've seen other guys do it. All right, guys.
Actually, there's
Mike. Go ahead.
Well, that actually leads me to a question. Have any of you guys had to physically remove anyone from your stores? Because I have.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Leaf has got to be like, do you mean in the last 10 minutes or do you mean in the last, today? Or do you mean for sure?
The last altercation I had was we have it's really sad. We have a 7-foot tall homeless guy who looks like Jon Favreau, but like on steroids, and he's threatened to kill all of us. And after it happened, I went to my dad's surplus store, and that scene in Force Awakens where they're like traitor, and he pulls it out. It's like the baton thing. Well, next time angry Jon Favreau came in. And I was like, dude, please go away. Please go away. And then he was spouting, I'm going to kill you again. I pull out my baton, give it a taste. And I go, are you going to kill me? Are you? Is that really what's going to happen? And then just, I don't like to no thanks.
I had once, I was working in my store and early in the morning, and it was before we opened, but my door was somewhat open, but the close sign was on, and I'm putting books on the shelves. And a lady comes in. And a lady comes in and says, just starts walking in. I said, hey, I'm sorry, we're not open, but if you want to browse the store a little bit, I don't mind, and I'll help you in just a second. And she does a dead stop, and she goes, what, do you hate Americans or something? Right? So, like, dude, the American born and bred patriot and dude who's taken a lot of stuff over the years and terrorist jokes and everything else, wanted to punch her real bad and wanted to throw her out physically. But you know what I did? I said, no, ma'am, I love Americans. I am one myself. Can I help you find some comics? Right. And and it worked. We turned it around and she's a great customer. And that may or may not be what really happened. Well,
I was waiting for you to say, and I married that woman.
Yeah. All right, guys. Next topic. Let's move it on. This is the one. This is the teaser, right? This is the one that if anybody's coming, maybe they came in to see that. They'll call it a comeback. All right, we're going to talk about the comeback, back to comeback campaign. Right. This is rolled out by Jeppy Family Enterprises, and I think there's a lot of misunderstandings of it. I mentioned this guy Nerdrotic, right? This Gary Buechler guy who did a reaction video that I was going to show, but like I don't need to show it. I'm not going to get into a radio war thing or anything. Especially,
you clearly didn't see the your boy Zach one because basically he said piss stain about 100 times.
Oh, I saw that one too. I did see some of that one too, and I saw a lot of other ones, man. There's this guy, these clown guys that like they get on there and they start talking about, oh man, I didn't watch the whole thing, but this guy comes out, he goes, this guy thinks the people on his show know more. Look, I've got 200,000 subscribers. He's got 1,000. I go, look, dude, I got Mike Richardson and Gary Groff and Steve Jeppy and Charles Rosansky. You want to tell me I don't have and Dennis Barger, for goodness sakes?
I have 101 subscribers to my YouTube channel, Wonder World Comics, by the way.
Good luck. So anyway, guys. So there's hate. there's negativity. My question I want to ask Gary Nerdrotic, and I will ask him because he did reach out to me. I was trying to reach out to him, but he's got so many fans. He's busy. I know he's not ignoring it. He doesn't strike me as a guy who would shy away from talking about stuff. And as a guy who lived in San Francisco, owned a comic book store, is into video and YouTube, I bet I have a lot in common with that dude. Gary, if you're watching or whatever, anytime I'll be on your show, you be on my show, or we just talk to each other in private. I just would like to talk to you. Because my question for you would be, I look on your channel, I really, really understand what you don't like and what you hate. I have no clue what you're into or what you like. That's my only question. That would be my first question for you. Like, what do you like? What's your favorite comic book? Are any comics that are coming out right now good and fun to watch, fun to read at all? Because I think there's a few. There's always a diamond in the rough. There's a bunch of stuff that stinks, but I don't know. There's also some, I was going to get into it, but I'll talk to him directly face to face. I don't want to get into anything like that. I really do want to talk to the guy. So let's talk about this comeback thing. I'm going to start with Mike again, just because Mike, you got less of a dog in this hunt, so to speak. What is your impression? Let me just ask you this, as somebody who's not a retailer, right? So you're not getting the behind the scenes communications currently. What do you know? What does this campaign mean to you? Like, what is it? What is it to you? Like, what is your view?
I think that it's a great idea to have a unifying message because, like you said, there is a lot of negativity, particularly online, where all the social media thrives on divisiveness. So the idea of a message to bring people together, to excite people, to bring people back into stores, I'm all for the intent. As far as the effectiveness of it, I'm the only one out of you guys that has never had a Diamond account. So I can't speak to how effective it's going to be. The only time I've been involved with Diamond at all, other than helping on some of these live streams, was my start in comics. I worked for Excalibur Books and Comics in Portland for about 1.5 years before I got hired at Dark Horse as an editor, and that was over 20 years ago. So just watching the process of how it was back then, it was pretty confusing to me, just as a comic shop employee. And previews is probably double the size now as it was back then. So, my heart goes out to all you guys just trying to make the time to do all this.
So what's interesting to me is that your impression is this is a comics campaign. It's a comics thing, right? And one of the main criticisms that I heard from Gary was like the word comic is not in the logo, right?
I have to 100% agree with them.
Because here's the thing. This is not just a comics campaign. It's also a game campaign. GFE and Jeppy Family Enterprises, they own both Diamond Comic Distributors and Alliance Game Distributors, and there are a lot of solo game stores that have nothing to do with comics. So they were looking for I'll bring you in a second, Dennis. So they were looking for a unifying mark, right, that could be used in a variety of contexts, one that could be shrunk to a very small size and be extremely visible in a variety of locations. He quibbled with the graphic design in his video a little bit and stuff, and I go, come on, we're in response to a pandemic. This has a visual appeal. It's got a comics connection, but isn't specific to comics. So I'm going to give it at least a B+, if not an A-, just on the concept for sure. And on the execution of the logo, I'm not going to quibble too much about it. Dennis, quibble away.
Here's the thing. I understand it. I watched Ghostbusters too. I saw them look at the license plate and the Statue of Liberty and figure out that they needed a symbol to bring everybody together. I just would have hoped they would come up with something other than the situation from Jersey Shore's catchphrase for his comeback career.
So I saw a comment about that, so I just don't know. That means nothing to me.
One of my normie friends on Facebook, when I shared your post,
I saw it.
And she's like, what the hell is that? Is this LL Cool J meets the situation? She knows nothing about comic books, and all she understood was LL Cool J.
Well, that's responding to my cheeky little, I got to come up with a something name.
Right, but the point is, we need to get people other than the 100,000 dorks that come into our stores all the time to come in and support our comeback.
Okay, fair point. Although I don't think that's what this campaign is aimed at. It's aimed at getting those people that already shop in those stores and for those products to come back in, and awareness that product is shipping again in the pipeline. Timmy, what do you think about it?
I do agree with the video and what we've all said. I do wish the word comic was in there. But I do think that it's meant to be a signal boost, because if our customers share it on their social media, then as Dennis calls them, the normies, the non-comic people, they will see their friends share it, you know, a positive thing about comic shops being back open. I mean, it doesn't take, you know, super supreme intelligence to realize businesses are being closed during all this. So, you know, hopefully the message and a picture of a comic or comic store will let the, you know, the non-comic person know that comics are back and strike an interest. You know, I get it. I really appreciate them doing it. I think they're, you know, I think it's, I really appreciate they're putting in the effort. You know, it was awesome seeing Steve do the video, call upon Kevin Smith and all that. It's fun, and I really enjoy seeing the videos. You know, I'm putting the hashtag in my social media too. I knew things were serious when I saw the video of like Steve doing it, wearing the shirt, you know, because I've only ever seen him in like diamond polos. So when I saw him doing other than a diamond polo, I was like, okay, things are serious now. And which, by the way, I really want to meet Steve one day.
Can I be a pessimist and say, does that also show how desperate the situation is?
Well, wait a second. Wait a minute. Let me get Leaf in here, and then we'll do a free for all on this. This is our big topic. So Leaf, back in the comeback or what, man?
I think it's too early, honestly. I think, you know, it's 2 to 4 weeks too early. And I think a lot of the critiques are valid. You know, I think it speaks to really how disconnected Steve Deppie has been to the comics industry and to Diamond. You know, it's clearly riffing on Ice Bucket Challenge. That was 5, 6, 7 years ago. This is old stuff, you know. It's not.
Well, in internet time, yes, it's pretty. It's maybe a dated technique, but some would say that it's a proven one that's being used in different. You know, it was proven there as a viral thing. The obvious attempt is to go viral.
Let's ask the kid over here, Tim.
Yeah, totally. Timmy, what? Yeah. Dude, aren't you Snapchatting this thing?
Okay, boomer.
Like,
is this
you're Instagramming it up or what?
What did we want? Did we want to see Steve do a TikTok dance? You know,
I do.
I mean,
yeah, I did a dance today on my show.
I got to watch that. You know, what Leaf said about it being too early. Here's the thing, though, is when all this went down and Diamond shut down and publishers put on pause and all that, I was really eye-opened to how many comic book stores exist that solely depend on paying their bills with nothing but new comics from Diamond and other product from Diamond, which is fine if that's how they have their model. But when it happened to me, I looked at my 2 stores and was like, all right, well, I got a bunch of other things I can sell online. Like, things are going to be really tough, but like I can weather this storm because I don't know how to give up. And well, I don't have any other choice. But there was a lot of complaints. There was a lot of cries that, you know, new comics need to be back. And there were some stores that were in areas of America that the virus hadn't affected or there wasn't shutdowns. So there was these retailers being pissed that this happened because it didn't affect them. And now their income had been cut off because they are dependent on new comics. That's their business model. That's never been my business model, but it is theirs. And if I had all my income cut off, I would be crying for it to come back too. And you know, I guess there was enough complaints, enough accounts that needed it to come back ASAP. And yes, do I think it's a little too early? Of course, but it's being staggered. It's a little bit, you know, but then a retailer I'm really good friends with that I consider a mentor, we were doing FOC, the FOC that Metal was on, which for people who are watching this that I'm Facebook friends with that don't know what FOC is, it's final order cutoff, the last chance that we can order comics to arrive on New Comic Book Day Wednesday.
Viewers of this show know that for sure, Timmy.
Well, you know, my mother's watching.
Okay, fair enough.
So, hi, Mom. So,
wait a minute. Does that make you a motherfucker? Sorry.
I have told that joke so many times.
Sorry, that just occurred. I'm sorry. I'm derailing you. Sorry, I couldn't help
reference. So yeah, we did the math on that FOC with metal and the Joker and all that. And for us, for me and my friend, we did the math, and if we sold everything on that FOC, yes, great profit, but like it kind of just over covered operation costs for our shops, and which is fine because I have money coming in from eBay, my website, which earlier I didn't plug Comic Hub, so there you go, Stu.
Comic Hub users, Stu, come on the show. Stu's coming on soon. We're going to do a full demo of Comic Hub.
That's awesome. But yeah, so if I was solely a store dependent on new comic sales, with the slow staggered releases, it's better than nothing, and it will help pay the bills. That is in this situation if I had nothing else to help pay the bills, but it's still not a whole lot, but I guess it's better than nothing. I personally am happy that it's staggered.
Okay, and Timmy, I want to point out what's in between the lines of what you're saying there is that those stores that were already selling digitally, whether it was in a high volume or not, they had all the channels set up. They had all the shipping stuff they needed. They had all the accounts. They had the marketing pre-done. They had it ready. So when the pivot had to happen, it could happen. Other folks not as ready are scrambling a little bit still to get set up with the stuff.
But the night the governor said California shut down, and my staff and my managers are looking at me, seeing if I'm worried, if I'm stressed, I just looked at them and I realized I've been preparing for this for years.
Yes.
I have all the backup channels prepared. If I could go back in time and high five myself for starting my eBay page, I would. And
I tell this story before and I'll tell it again. I used to write, I had scripts that I would write that would comb Amazon's database from my SKUs and ISBNs and find the stuff that was above and below market and look at my pause numbers and see how many things had turned. And I had simple algorithms and rules for what would get listed for what prices. And it's not only saved me, it had made me more money that year than I'd made the previous year.
Well, 10 years ago, real quick, 10 years ago, I started my Amazon page. We had the eBay. We've been doing eBay since 2001. And I had the Amazon started in 2010. And I started populating with just junk. Stuff that I was like, okay, you know what? Marvel had a clearance sale. Throw all this crap on there. DC liquidated some stuff on the Blizzard sale. Throw this crap on there. And I'd been blowing that stuff out to other dealers and blowing it out of flea markets. And now I was like, okay, you know what? I got the room to store this stuff. Why am I blowing this stuff out? So I wanted to start that channel, that back channel. And, and like I said, eventually the back channel became the main channel. And then it became the entire life raft. And then it became a yacht, and you're like, well, the Titanic's sinking. And I had my yacht moored up on the side of the boat. Time to hop in there.
To me, the epiphany on Amazon, and I sold way more on Amazon than I did through any other channel, strictly because it was so much easier to list product there, because they have the images and things already. You're basically attaching on to an existing product listing, and you can just be part of the marketplace for that.
I did one of my Facebook daily D at 3 videos where I just took people through Amazon 101. And I had so many of my retailer friends message me afterwards, dude, is it seriously that fucking easy?
Yeah,
and I'm like, yes, it's that fucking easy.
That's where Amazon is winning, because eBay is such a pain in the butt. From listing to every single part of eBay is so much more painful.
And if you don't select the custom shipping, you're going to ship to Mexico and the package is going to get lost and you're going to lose 100%. And if
Amazon makes it a lot more foolproof, and they take a nice kind of like pretty even, it's a big cut, but you know 20%. What the cut's going to be. Yeah.
But take, for instance, today I sold a book that I was like, I did my video today and I said, I want to see what the difference is between what I'm selling and what I'm getting on Amazon. Or no, I did this last week. Maybe it was last week. And I said, okay, I got $50 for this book on Amazon. What's it going for on eBay? It's going for 20. Okay. So it means I made 40 and the guy who sold it on eBay made 20. I'll take that.
Yeah. And guys, so to bring it back to the comeback for a second here, and then we're going to go into some Then we're going to go into some comments, and then we'll wrap it up at the very end. I like to do predictions, so be ready to give a prediction about anything. So any final thoughts on Back in the Comeback? My thoughts are obviously the heart is in the right place. Obviously, to not support it doesn't make a lot of sense, like to knock it down and to crap on it. I don't really see what an upside to that, other than maybe some constructive criticism on things that could be tweaked or whatever. I also think that the mission of what it is a little blurry. In the sense that it feels like it's supposed to be comic shops, but it's really meant to be for games or comics. So that message is slightly muddled, and I think that's a valid criticism, but a nitpick at best.
I think one of the things that, this is, it's a great idea. I will give it the same lip service that I think it actually is. Because to me, it's a hashtag. It's not going to move asses into seats. It's not going to throw money into your stores. I will give it the same lip service that I think the project really is. Now, I would like to see something bigger. I would like to see Batman 92 and Empire 1 and something big tent pole-ish to really make it a big comeback for comic shops. Because, a facsimile of Huntress' first appearance is not going to drive them into the stores.
Timmy?
Back the Comeback would be so successful if they shelled out the cameo money and got an MCU actor to do a 30-second thing on it.
And frankly, what do you mean shell out the money? Please, come on. I'll bet you could get a Favreau, you could get Samuel L. Jackson, who are legitimate comic book fans, to do that kind of plug at the drop of a hat. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I don't think that I am.
Let's call it Steve and get it done. I would love
make
that.
Make it happen, guys. All right, you listening? Influencers out there?
We don't make any calls.
It'd be a game.
All right, guys. So, I think and Leaf, final thoughts on Back in the Comeback?
Yeah, I think the heart is in the right place, but the money isn't. If you really wanted to make a difference, I think you need to change payment terms. COD is ridiculous. Net 7 is ridiculous. Most vendors are net 30 at the least. If you put every Diamond account on net 30, net 60, net 90, you would save a lot of stores.
I had net 30. I had net 30 or net 60. I had one of those.
Not many stores do. Not many stores do.
But I then again.
In Diamond's defense, what's the amount of stores though that treat comic shops and comic book stores like a joke? That's a clubhouse, a glorified clubhouse. Don't treat it like a real business, and then blow it all up, and then leave Diamond with bills unpaid.
Yeah, I'd say those guys are fly-by-nights and are gone by now, and that anybody who survived into this day and age has seen a lot.
Totally. I'm not a Diamond hater.
Nobody here is.
I love Diamond. I owe my businesses to them. When my town was on fire after a shooting, they helped me out, and they've helped out a lot of retailers. So
they've done a lot for sure, and like any big company, it's a mixed bag. They have different interests and things that we are not privy to. Anyway, we're back in the comeback here at Comic Book News. There's no doubt about that. All right, maybe it's because Steve Jeppe is a guy that's been on this show and helped this channel blew up, and I'm loyal to my friends. But maybe it's also because, dude, I am back in the comeback, man. I want comic book stores to be around forever. I grew up in one, literally, and I don't want to see them go away. So I have no choice but to back the comeback.
I watched the video, the neurotic video, and when he went on about wanting comic shops to succeed, me and him may have many different opinions on a lot of things, but when he went on about wanting comics to grow in every way, he was preaching to the choir, brother.
That was my favorite part of his video. And when he got to that part, it made me go, wait a minute. Okay. This guy, there is a love there. I know it has to be. He ran a store for 10 years. He had to be super into comics, but wait a minute. But then it went right into a segued, jammed in jump cut, Indiegogo, I'm backing Jawbreakers and Cyberfraud, just a blatant in your face plug. And okay, that's okay to plug things, but it was so. I'm a video major from San Francisco State University, right? So I study semiotics of video and all that stuff. And so I'm very tuned into that kind of stuff, okay? So like the way that message was there and what I see of his channel makes me feel like there is pressure on him to be negative because it gets eyeballs and clicks and it gets super chat money. I've watched on that. I've watched that show live before, and I've seen guys, if he drops a reference about New Warriors stinking or SJWs or whatever, so a $200 super chat could drop on that.
Yeah, but Dan, can I just be devil's advocate here for a second? Because
sure.
I'm probably.
And I'm not trying to accuse. I'm just saying what it looks like purely from a
frustration level that you achieve when you've said, hey, I don't like this. And then everyone shouts you down. And then you go, look, I hate this. And then everyone shouts you down. And then there's a certain point where it's like, you get so backed up against the wall. You're like, you know what? I think you need to burn to the ground before it can be rebuilt. And you listen to the fact that there are people who disagree with you. There's a certain frustration level that I have. And I love a lot of the people at Diamond, but there's some people at Diamond I really want to see lose their jobs over this because they've led a lot of retailers down the primrose path. And, but then and these are people who, I know they have done things that hurt retailers or have not done things that would have helped retailers when they had the chances. So, and when I get that frustration level, I get there. I get the same place as Nerdrotic, and I see his frustration. So, when I don't.
What I'm saying, I guess, is that though that the frustration you're talking about, it seems like frustration from business practices and whatever. What I'm seeing there, what I'm saying is that there's a financial incentive to hate things. And I'm not saying just in comics, but in general. I saw an interesting BBC documentary just recently that talked about how, B.F. Skinner, the behavioral psychologist, he identified that the best way to train a dog, right, is random reinforcement. Okay, you give them sometimes you give them a treat, sometimes you don't. Okay, and that when you get likes on social media, that is the digital equivalent of that random treat because you don't know whether it's coming and who it's coming from. And that stuff is highly psychologically addictive. I feel it just with the moderate bit of interest this channel has got. But then I also have no financial incentive. I do okay in my day job. This is purely passion for me. But somebody like Gary, and this is not a knock. He sold his store. Now I think his full-time income is probably from YouTube. And so there is a financial incentive there by the algorithms of YouTube. And the way our culture is right now that I find fascinating. And that's one of the big issues I want to talk about on comic book news in general, but not tonight, guys. I'm sorry. There's been enough hate talk. Leaf, you got any final thoughts on that? I feel like maybe you do
No, I think we're done with the topic. Yeah.
I just have a few quick thoughts.
Yeah, Mike.
I have a few quick thoughts. First of all, I want to say, Dan, next time we do a video, you need to bring some pictures of young Dan and his first comic book job. Because I saw those online the other day, and I think that the world needs to see them.
Oh, that's nothing. Wait till I debut Hell's Half Hour, my public access, community access TV show in high school. Which was my first. I've got that. If you go to my channel, guys, it's the very first two videos. It's 16-year-old Danny doing his first TV show. It is so cringy, I can't even watch it. But there are cameo appearances of the comic book store I grew up in, Mike's Coliseum. In part 2, it starts in there. You get to see the old staffers. And you get to see my bedroom as you walk in and read Fleming posters and comic shop stuff. All like it takes me back in time, but I can't watch myself talk because it's even worse than this.
If you Google Dennis Barger toy scalper, they did like a whole segment on me on the CBC, and I watch that about once a year at Christmas time. And I have such a baby face. I know what you're saying. Is just like I'm like. Where is that happy guy?
Well, the thing is the hair. that I had back. Dude, my hairline was down to here and so thick. Anyway, we're way off topic. Let's get into Timmy.
Well, not to put a pause on the going down memory lane, but we're talking about age. 20 minutes ago, Mike just referenced 20 years ago. Mike, not to hit on you or anything, but what are you eating, man? 20 years ago? How old are you? What?
How old am I? I'm
Oh my gosh,
44. I'm old enough I have to think about it. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
Keep it up.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Basically, Leaf, he's saying we look old as fuck.
All right, guys. This is
I hear it.
we're going to move into the viewer comment section. This is the fun part. This is guys where like, dude, nobody thought Leaf and Dennis Barger have enough in common. They can sit around and have fun and have a great conversation. Except me, I did, and they probably knew it in their hearts. You get guys talking online like me, spouting off about this and that, and then you put them in a room together and you start talking about comics, and you can't help but like each other, right?
Hell yeah, brother.
I appreciate it, guys. So let's go into some comments. I'm going to pull up some comments. Guys, if you have more comments coming, let me know. Let's see. I see a super chat here at the bottom. So let's put that up. Oh, I love this. This person paid $2 to say, oh, wait, who's a good boy? You're a good boy. Thank you. By the way, I forgot to mention at the top of the show that all super chat donations are going directly to my comic book collection so that I can read more comics. Thanks, everybody. Nah, I'm just kidding. If you kick in any super chat money, I'll match it today, and I'll donate it to either Comeback or Bink or somebody who needs it. So bring it on, guys.
Yeah.
I'm going to see. Wait a minute. I want to see if I can turn the comments back on for you guys. And maybe now can you see them now? Okay. So, guys, start looking if you see any comments. I'll bring up a couple right now. And if you got more questions, people, bring them on now. I'll look back and see if I can.
Watching this whole thing, I thought it was just the five of us talking.
52 on right now. Okay, here we go. The mark looks bad. Talk about comeback. It's also a reminder of a very bad time. It's Diamond's fault this happened. They could have kept open like mothers. I don't know what that means, mothers, but.
Well, they couldn't keep open. I back 100% Jeppy's choice to close the doors. He could not. If my arguments about retailers being 50% in arrears couldn't get us positive credit, can you imagine what happened the 2 weeks that the pandemic hit across the United States? And then Steve's looking at the checks coming in and going, what just happened to all of our money?
Right.
We can't pay these guys right now. We can't accept more orders. These guys don't have any money to give it to us for us to give it to them. I absolutely agree with Steve's choice to shut down the entire industry because he has to.
Yeah, guys, are we on the same page about that one? I think we are. Like, it made sense. From what I understand, too, the hand was forced mostly by printers, trucking companies, and all the parts of the supply chain of comics. This was not
exactly. It was purely a cash flow issue. And that's what a lot of people who don't run a business don't understand, is that you need constant cash flow in order to pay the bills.
That's one of Gary's criticisms, too, was about the whole line of credit issue that Brian Hibbs brought up. Check out some of our recent mini clips of the Jet B. Hibbs interview, too, and you can check that out.
I was closed down 2 weeks before that. So
the week after it happened, the doom and gloom narrative of this industry and even some, non-comic book news outlets were sharing the whole thing about how Diamond stopping payments to publishers and vendors, et cetera, et cetera. Everyone was like, oh my God, things are terrible. Well, it's like, it's a domino effect. They're not getting money. So why would
I really think whoever wrote Steve's first press release where he said closing down or whatever the exact verbiage was, that person should have been sent out to pasture because, I read that and I said, holy shit, the old man's cashing in the chips and taking off. Wait
a minute. Here's a comment. Jeppy's out of touch. He admitted he's been hands off for years, and Diamond needed a loc 1 week into the shutdown or they were done for. Thoughts on that? I'm going to say, for a guy who's out of touch, I've never met a 70-year-old dude as sharp as Steve Jeppy was in those interviews. Right. His recall of events, and also willing to acknowledge went on that call and he said, look, I have been a little out of touch, but I'm back at the wheel, man. And I don't know about you, but that brought some confidence to me. I really like that.
Well, no, and I love,
hang on a second, Dennis. Hang on a second, Dennis. Let's go Leaf for a second. Leaf, what do you feel about this? Like, I felt that the loan thing is a lot of this is like a misunderstanding of finance, just like what Mike was alluding to. Well, what's your thoughts on that?
And I really appreciate Steve Geppe's new enthusiasm. I think he needs to keep at it, and think he needs to be surround himself with critical thinkers, not just yes people, that are really going to challenge him and challenge, everybody to how can we step up and save this industry, because we are in existential crisis.
Okay, guys, I don't want to break up the conversation, but man, we got a $50 super chat going on over here. So wait a minute, that calls for the first appearance of $1 million super chat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zero Depressive. I guess I'm backing this unwillingly. Like I already said, be called all the ists and phobes by the industry for years for nothing. See then if you can find excitement in this kind of slogan. Okay. So he's alluding to the fact that some people in the comics fandom feel marginalized when they express opinions that are outside of what is perceived as the mainstream left-wing opinion. And you know what do I have to say about that? I don't know. I want to hear
in
what
2016, I made this hat. I don't know if you can read it. Make the comic industry great again. Unfortunately, my father passed away because I was taking these to New York Comic Con. So I had some friends pass them out at New York Comic Con. And immediately, the amount of hate for clearly what is a parody hat, the amount of hate I received for a parody hat worn by me, the biggest loudmouth in our industry. And I was like, are you kidding me? I mean, I literally had people telling me they wanted me to go out of business because I made a hat. The frustration.
Okay. Any other thoughts on this culture war stuff, guys? Any of you want to chime in on this? Because I'll tell you the truth, people are a little bit tired of this. A lot of people are tired of hearing about this. A lot of people are tired about talking about it. It is a bit of a hobby horse for me. But Timmy, what do you got to say?
Politics doesn't exist in my store. Comics are political, yes, but I don't care, as long as you're not saying terrible, ungodly things like, that make someone angry, that hit hard. Like if you want to order through my store the most liberal comic possible or the most conservative, my job is to put comics in your hands. Like not to go, it's political what I'm about to say, but a little off topic, but like when everyone was doing the whole Lunar Diamond thing and wanting to explain to their customers the politics of the DC thing, the Lunar thing, the Diamond thing, dude, my job isn't to spout my politics into my customer. All right. If you want to read New Warriors and order the 1 out of 500 variant and pay me money for it, I'm gonna put that in your hands so quick. My whole, I'll do it, and if you want to order catalog something that is very, pro-conservative while, or pro-liberal, like I, Timmy Hague, don't have Republican or Democratic allegiance, okay?
What I would do if I was really politically opposed to something a customer ordered, and assuming it wasn't, true hate speech, etc. Here's what I would do. I would take the money. I would take as much as they could. And then I would donate that to a counter cause, maybe for that cause. And I might even let the customer know that. But I would certainly be willing to take their money.
If someone is making their order with me and spouting, their nonsense about it with how driven they are and passionate about it, about a comic book and how it politically charges them, I'm probably going to give a weird looking face and be like, whoa, man, okay. And if I weird him out because of my honesty, it is what it is. But like, I'm not going to be selling hate speech or terrible, things that promote, ungodly acts towards people. So,
but frankly, that to me, the biggest thing that invalidates a lot of the talk about this is that like the idea that comics should not be political and they should be action-packed fun for the whole family is bullshit. And Some of the best comics from the best creators in mainstream are explicitly political. Go to Dark Knight Returns and show Ronald Reagan. That was put out in the Reagan administration, right? And like, there's clear overt and subvert and covert political
bloody immigrant, and Captain America when he's punching Hitler on the cover. You know, comics are political. Art is political. And if you don't like it, read something else. You know,
right, but on the same token, show me one thing political in Cyberfrog.
That's what I'm saying. He doesn't have to, but
there's nothing.
But to say there should not be, but to say there should not be is the.
But there's nothing political in Cyberfrog. But there's nothing political in Cyberfrog. The entire argument is this guy is a hater. Don't let him be in our industry. And
I don't think that's it at all. Look, man, you can talk about your $850,000 or whatever that guy raised. He's got 6,000 backers. Okay, so he's got 6,000 fans out there of varying levels of dedication, and he runs a 24-hour infomercial grift network that does nothing but talk about hate to sell. Not talk about hate. Talk about
hate. Tell me what hate.
No, not talk about hate. Not as in spewing hate, but as in we hate social justice warriors. That's the whole thing. And they're taking people who are legitimately feel the opinion that this viewer put in here, that they feel a little bit marginalized politically. They're playing into that and bilking it for money, for dollars. There's no political. Those guys aren't making a political point. Comicsgate is a money-making grift, 100%.
Absolutely. But you know what? They were all ostracized. I know Billy Tucci personally. I know Ethan Van Sciver personally. You know, I had them at my
Dennis, you were ostracized too. And I'll say this to you like I would say it to them. You say shitty things and you loudmouth and you start talking about people. People are not going to like you, and they're not going to take your message seriously, even when you are speaking the truth. And even when you do have a good message, it's going to get ignored because it's getting drowned in garbage. Mike, what did you want to say? I'm sorry. And then Dennis, I'll let you respond to that if you want to.
Well, I just wanted to make the point that here now in 2020, it has never, ever been easier to create comics. There are so many avenues to get your comics out and be seen, whether it's online or print or crowdfunding or whatever. None of those creators, I mean, even those big, well-known established creators, I should say well-known within comics, like Tucci or Van Sciver or whoever, they have probably been blacklisted by certain publishers, but they are not kicked out of the industry by any means, because the industry is made up of everyone. They are the industry. So if they can't get work one way, if they're talented and creative enough, they're going to find a way to make money another way. And good for them. You know, they may not be comics that interest certain readers or certain retailers because of their insane business model of charging $25 for a 48-page comic. But there are people who are going to see that and go, that's exactly what I want, and I can't get that anywhere else. Personally, I disagree with that. I think that there's comics that are in the direct market ecosystem by itself that are for everyone. You just have to look for them. But if there's something that specific people really want, good for them. You know, it's available, and there's people who are willing to charge them as much as they can get for it. And good for them.
Jimmy?
You know, like, when it comes to like these politically charged comics, if they were in previews and someone put on their pull list, I'm not gonna, not put it on there. I don't care about someone's political opinion. I'm gonna look at you the same weird way, whether it's Democrat or Republican spewing your beliefs in my store. If you just want to read comics, awesome. I've never read Cyberfrog. I think it's an interesting design of a character. I don't know what it's about. Is there maybe some politically charged behind it? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I can't sell it in my store, so it doesn't concern me. It's not, it's not something I can order. And I'm not, I'm sorry if my super liberal friends, my fellow retailers are calling me, a wuss because I'm not picking a side, or my conservative retailer's not picking a side. But by the end of the day, I don't care about your politics. I care about paying my goddamn bills and paying my parents' mortgage one day and making sure they can retire. My job on this earth is to put comics in people's hands.
Yeah, and you're talking like a retailer, pal. And I feel like most people, I've gotten a lot of people that feel this same way. A lot of people have expressed to me and reached out to me and said, like, well, like what the commenter was saying a little bit, like I don't want to express my opinion, my right-wing opinion, because it'll cost me business or cost me whatever. And I'm just going to say it's a legitimate, it happens, but dude, what are you going to do? Life is what it is. People are going to hate for all kinds of reasons. Keep the politics out of what you're selling. It's okay to be in the product, but that's a relationship between the artist and the end user, the consumer, right?
I don't care about your political opinion. I just want to sell comics and love comics and talk about comics.
Because I'm going to carry Robert Crumb no matter what. And somebody's going to come in and they're going to say that is sexist, it's racist, and they're going to show me some very explicit racist stuff with the N-word and far beyond, probably the most racist thing you'll ever see in a comic you're going to find in a Robert Crumb comic.
This is how
Does
much
that invalidate? Does that make him racist necessarily? No. So when I go, yeah, I'm sorry, Leaf, come on.
Complain about that.
Yes, is no R Crumb, but go ahead. Sorry, Leaf.
I've never had anyone come in and complain about Crumb.
I have one. Yeah, I do have one.
But what I was, and along with what Tim's saying, and I keep pointing at the wrong direction, Tim, so I apologize. Here's the problem is they are pushed out of the industry, because even when somebody gets picked up by a publisher, like your boy Zach had that book that got picked up by Anarchic Press, Mark Waid picks up the phone call and says, you got to cancel that deal or nobody's going to work for you again. Now, I don't know how the conversation went down, but your customers don't have the option to have it in Diamond, even though it was picked up with a publisher, because immediately the blacklist comes into effect. And I want to get to a point where all comics are accepted, all comics, and I don't care if you want to have, and I've got videos for me defending Lady Thor for an hour, the validity of Lady Thor.
Okay, so stores might want to carry that stuff, but here's the thing: those guys have elected for the most part to say we don't want to be in comic stores. They're not available through previews.
Not originally, though.
And wait a minute, and what's his face? Meyer wants to say I'm blacklisted because Antarctic Press won't print my thing because of what's his face and a lawsuit and whatever else. But dude, nothing prevents if he wanted to tomorrow, went to Diamond and opened an account and wanted to sell comics in the previews, they would not say no. Yes,
they would. They have a retailer approval board that decides what is even allowed to be advertised.
I don't believe you. I don't believe that would fail.
I went to them with a comic book and a national ad campaign, and they said, we don't like the comic book. This was 10 years ago.
I mean, come on. They put Boundless in the catalog.
The point is, exactly, they put Boundless in there because they know tits will sell. And it does.
Dennis, without seeing the book in question, I cannot comment on that because I'm willing to bet there's some heinous shit in there, or it just stunk.
No, it wasn't. It was about an alcoholic clown named. Basically, it was a Krusty ripoff, and the guy. An alcoholic. What was it? Oh, it was Wolfman Mac, and the guy had a national syndicated cartoon or TV show where he was a horror host on MeTV, and this was the comic that we were going to launch alongside with it. And they wouldn't even solicit it.
Like a Svengoolie type thing.
Yeah, no, it was.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, Dennis, send me a copy and I will do a review of it on my show. And I will give this ex-retailer's opinion on the saleability and the commercial ability of that comic.
If you want, I'd be happy to do the same. I used to be the submissions editor at Dark Horse Comics, and I'd be happy to give you my unvarnished opinion if you want it.
That was where I was confused because we actually pitched Gappo the Clown.
That's great.
To Dark Horse with Dirk and a couple other guys.
And I just want to point out, if you want to be a guest on the Dan Shaheen Comic Book News with Dan Shaheen, please send an email to turbodork@danshaheen.com or DM at Hijinks on Twitter. And I want to see people, retailers. I want to see creators. And if you've got a work you want me to review, crowdfunded or not, I don't care. Send me a physical copy. Email me. I'll give you my address. Send me a physical copy. I'll put it up on the $1 Million Comics cam, and we'll take a look at it. And I will give you a fair and honest shake And shoot, it could be full of political stuff if you want it to be. I love political comics, man. Some of my favorite stuff in the world. Joe Sacco and Art Spiegelman and Frank Miller too, and so many others. Politics belong in comics. We love them, right, Timmy? So, okay, guys, it's been great. By Leaf's yawn, I can tell that the rest of the audience is probably done with this conversation too. I want to thank everybody. If you guys don't mind, we're going to do our last bit. I always like to do a la McLaughlin Group predictions. And for Timmy's sake, McLaughlin Group is a TV show that used to be on that old people liked.
TV was where we used to watch Netflix shows before they went on the internet.
All right, Dennis. So let's start with Mikey. Mike, what do you got for a prediction for us?
I guess if I had to make one prediction is that comics are going to come back just fine. As far as online stuff, it never slowed down. These Indiegogo guys, these Kickstarter guys, they're able to jump right in and take advantage of the situation to get even more attention, I think.
Oops. Sorry.
Hello?
Yeah, I forgot to mention my rule. That the prediction cannot be comics are going to be around forever, because we know that. Everybody knows that comics are going to be okay. But Mike, I love your optimism, and this show is about optimism and positivity, but not at the expense of the truth, right? So, Mike, thank you. We'll stick around. We'll talk backstage in a second. Let's go to our next prediction let's go to Dennis. Dennis, what do you think about the future?
Well, I personally think that this comic industry, as we know it through Diamond, is probably going to shrink about 20%. I'm banking on that because that's why I'm going to start buying new comics again, because the print runs are going to be so small. They're going to make the late 90s, early 2000s small print run stuff that I make a ton of money on look like gold, or look less like gold.
Dennis, I love that prediction. That's the kind of stuff they tune into this show for, right? That's the insights that only.
But there's a second part. There's a second part to that, which is it's going to make, and I've said this before, it's going to make the 80% of stores that survive this the most cockroach type stores you'll ever see. They'll be able to survive anything, but they better come up with a backdoor channel to survive the next pandemic after this and the thing after that. Because once the government knows they can shut us down to protect us, they will use that tool. And if you're not prepared when the next thing comes around within a year or 6 months or 2 years or 5 years, you got yourself to blame when it goes tits up.
Thanks, Dennis. Stick around. We'll talk backstage. What did I do there? Wrong way. We're going to go, Leaf.
Sure. I think for myself, there are definitely changes coming. I think it's going to accelerate the shift into being more of a graphic novel, bookstore focused store. I will always be selling single issues, but, doing the massive, eBay and back issue thing is not viable in my market. And it's not the business that I want to be in myself. But I really believe in my customers. And I believe that people do want to come into a space, browse things, look at them, have that tactile experience, and talk to people and have that sense of connection.
Okay. Thanks, Leaf. All right. Hey, Timmy, man, what do you think about all these old dudes? Like me and you, we're the new generation, man. We're the young guys. What's happening next, Al? What's Pokemon us up or whatever the kids are talking about today?
I think, Leaf just nailed it on the head for me, man. I mean, the reason I have a comic book store or comic book stores now, it's a place for anyone to talk about what they love. It's the place where a kid can just talk about Spider-Man and find the Spider-Man comics. So being closed, it sucks because that can't happen. It's only by curbside or mail order, but I got to do what I got to survive. I think Dennis is correct. 20%, 25 is probably right. I think the stores that were always week to week treading by, never really taking it that seriously, I think this will maybe be their wake up call or their ruin. I don't wish that upon anybody, but it's just with the way the economy is, the way the industry is, it's going to happen. Unfortunately, the clubhouses are going to go, and the people that treat this like a real business are going to stay. And the things that kept them alive, I'm going to, personally, like eBay, being focused on my website, pushing pre-orders like never before, and using social media as a sales tool instead of getting them through the door. I'm going to continue doing that because, I can see what it can do for me when I have closed stores, and when I can have people through the doors again. I'm not going to, be like, okay, everything's back to normal. Like, everything's fine. No, I'm going to keep those channels operated to be safer than sorry. And I'm going to be unfortunately concerned with my rack copies because, while things are returnable, that's great. That's still money I'm putting forward, things like that. And it sucks, because I want to show my support with, all the publishers that do things to support me. And I want their options of stock all on the wall. But in a Corona world, I got to use Comic Hub and push that. If you want something, let me know, because I'm trying to keep my staff employed. I'm trying to pay all my bills, and I'm trying to keep the thing that I've sacrificed my 20s to not just be, oh, in the end, it was just a waste of time. Like, no, I want it to account for something and mean for something. And
let me say thank you for that. Let me just say, as a guy who did spend a lot of his 20s and 30s doing it, it's not a waste. Even if it doesn't work, even if a business fails, you're going to learn more from your failures maybe than you would from your successes and good times. So, and I can tell from everything you brought to the show, the fact that you reached out to me and were willing to just jump on here, the fact that you got 2 stores going tells me that you're gonna do well. Nice. No matter what, because you're adaptable. So stick around and we'll talk after the show. Thanks, Tim. And I hope you'll come back and be on the show again soon.
Absolutely.
And I meant to say that to Dennis too, man. Dennis, we love you too. All right, guys. So, sorry. See you, Timmy. So, guys, final thoughts here. My predictions. What are my predictions, man? Well, things are going to get worse before they get better. We honestly have not seen the ramifications of this crisis yet in our economy, let alone in just the comics world. Dude, the economy is a slow moving ship, right? You can't just turn it on a dime the way any one of these individual entrepreneurs can turn their ship of their business on a dime and change, right? You can't. The effects of this, even if we get back and open things up, the effects of the slowdown still haven't hit us. There's going to be ramifications, but among those ramifications is going to be, I think, the falling price of rents, the availability of different backstock abilities, and the different of a new idea of business models, right, for the comics industry. What's a new store going to be? Does it have to cater to middle-aged superhero fans? I don't think that the next version of Comic Book Shop is going to be that. I think those people are going to be welcome, but it's going to be a much broader tent and a bigger thing. This industry is coming back. Comic book news is back in the comeback. You guys can get as negative as you want. Bring it on, pal, because I'm as positive as can be that the kind of people that watch this show and the kind of people who are on this show are the kind of people that know how to make things happen. Change does not come from the top, right? Diamond's campaign, while great, while awesome, is more of a rallying cry for the industry. This is really what this is every single person out there, every single business, every family, every person is going to have to do this from the grassroots. We're going to have to reinvent what our economy is, what retailing means, what selling comics means in a post-crisis world. Holy cow, what kind of show is this? I thought this was about comic books. It is, guys, but man, comics are our world, and that's what we talk about. That's what we love. We got 55 people still watching right now, and that tells me that there's 55 people out there at least that care enough to make this industry better. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.